Dear listeners, this week's we have a Parshas Toldot. Parshas Toldot, in which we learn that our father Yaakov, our father Jacob, in order to obtain the blessings from his father Yitzchak, he had to resort to disguise and deceit. He had to disguise himself as if he was his brother Esav, and make believe that he was Esav, and in that manner he received the blessing. Bechas Yitzchak. It's very difficult to understand that these are sacred blessings on which the whole future of the Jewish people for all generations depend, should be based upon something which is less than honest, which needs deceit and disguise. We know that Yaakov Avinu was entitled by the Isha Emes, the man of truth and honesty, as it is written, Titein Emes LeYaakov. He gives a truth to Jacob. And it is exactly this Yaakov who had to use a form of dishonesty and in trickery in order to receive the blessing. What is behind that? It's difficult to comprehend. But very briefly, we don't have time to explain it fully, but we know that in every Jewish person there are two worlds. There are two parts. There is the aspiration for spirituality, the Yetzer Tov, the inclination for that which is ultimate good and elevated, but there's also a tendency for the Yetzer Hara, an inner drive for what is personal pleasure and ambition, which is the evil inclination that is within man. And the person has to able to find a way of living with both of these drives in his personality. Now, which means it's impossible to do both. One becomes the real important goal of the individual, and the other one becomes secondary. It's only a make-believe. Now, one of the goals is real for him, this is the essence of his life, and the other one is something that it does because it's necessary, but not his real aspiration. It's more or less, and the people who live for the sake of spirituality and godliness, even if they engage in physical activity in order to gain their livelihood, to make parnasa, to eat and to drink and to engage in all material activity, they do it as if it was make-believe. They do it seemingly in earnest and with earnestness, but in reality what they really aim is the spiritual life. But what they have to engage in physical activity, they do it as a form of make-believe because they have to. But this is not what they're really aiming for. And that's the way we can obtain the blessing. A person lives in this world and he has to participate in the activity of this world in order to exist as if they were important, but in reality this is only make-believe. There's an element of trickery. He engages in things of this world as if they were important, but in reality he aims for something else completely, aims for spirituality. And unfortunately there are other people to whom their main goal in life is their physical pleasure and their material accomplishments, and sometimes they engage in spiritual activity, and this is a form of make-believe. So the way to obtain the blessings of Yitzchak, so that we can live with it, we need to put on the clothes of Esav occasionally in order to provide for our physical needs, but this is only clothes, because the essence of the person is the goals of Yaakov. But in order to obtain the goals of Yaakov, we sometimes have to put on the clothes of Esav in order to be able to exist in this physical world. So this is the idea that by this approach, by making believe as if we live in this world, as if that is important, and recognize at the same time the real goal is our spiritual existence, that's how we can really obtain the godly blessings of our Father Yitzchak. Thank you very much and have a good Shabbos.